Hi there, I'm Rai, a technician at 4x4 AT here in Leeming Bar. Today I'm going to be showing you how to install the Aeroklas Canopy onto the 2023 Wildtrak. So upon receiving your Aeroklas Canopy, we need to check the box for damage before the driver leaves. Ours is in good condition, but if yours does have damage, you need to note that on the consignment note as well as notifying the driver. With that being said, we'll get cracking with this install. Ordinarily, you would need to fit J brackets, which are recommended by Ford and VW themselves. We do already have ours fitted to this vehicle, but when ordering your canopy, it is recommended that you do purchase them as well. And if you do order those, they'll be inside the canopy. So if you are needing instruction on how to install the J braces, we do have a separate video which will guide you through installing them on this model as well as the VW. So to get started with this install, these are the tools that you're going to need. So have an impact driver, a blowtorch, a T40, a T30, a 10mm long reach, a 13mm long reach, a ratchet, a trim tool, a knife. Do have a tie wrap gun, but you could use flush cuts, tie wraps, and finally a torch. So the first thing we need to do is remove the Wildtrak bar, or it is on this model, and to do that we're going to take off this top part first. So to remove this top part of the bar, we need to take this plastic cover off here, and if you push your palm like this, you're going to get a gap up here, lever off there, and then pull down, and this will come off. We'll do the same on the opposite side. Push in, lift up, and pull off. So there's 3 T40s that need to be removed. There's one behind the liner, one here, and one at the front. Usually they come with a lot of Loctite on, so it's recommended that you do use your blowtorch to warm the head of that up for the Loctite to melt and the bolt to come out with ease. So now that's warmed up, that should come out with ease. Just be careful because it will be hot. And then move on to your next one. Now to remove this bottom bolt, as we've got our 5-piece liner in, we're just going to take our anchor point out and then we'll be able to get to that bolt. So I'll bend that back. Put my gun on and I can pull that out. I'll do the same on the opposite side. So the next thing that we need to do is take out the 2 10mm. There's one here and then one in the middle of there. Just use your 10mm on your ratchet and you can get the last part by hand. Once that's out, you can refit this cover. Same on the opposite side. Then we'll refit our cover. So our cover has 2 hooks on it and they hook over the edge. So bottom in first, this part over, click that in, and now we can lift this top part off. So next we have a 13mm bolt which comes down here, and there is 2 13mm nuts under the back edge. So that just wants to be loose like so. Now this bar has lots of plastic clips along there. They are going to break when you take it off, but if you lift it from the back and then work your way forward. So it's the same process again on the opposite side. Again, lift it from the back. Now, as we're fitting a canopy on, the best time to clean your back window is before we mount the canopy. So we'll just spray some glass cleaner on there. Also, I'd give the bed a wipe down as well, so I'll spray some on there as well and give all of that a wipe down. Happy with that, I'm ready to move on to starting to unbox the canopy. So when installing this Aeroklas canopy, we need to lay it down to unbox it. If we look on the top of the box, we have 3 arrows. They always want to be pointing towards the car. Secondly, we have an outer box and an inner box. The outer box is the one that wants to lay on the floor and the inner box wants to be on the top. So I'll go around the back and I'm going to lower it down. So I'll grab the straps and lower it down. There's a pallet attached to the canopy. We're going to cut all the straps off and get rid of all them. Now I'll just get rid of this pallet. Now it's advised that we use 2 people to lift this canopy onto the vehicle, but I'd also use that same second person to help lift this inner box out of the other box. So I'll just grab Will. Now that we've got the lid off, the next thing we're going to do is remove all the foam parts. So from here, grab it with 2 hands, and to lift it up, pop it onto the bulkhead window, and then from there, we'll then grab it from the bottom and the back, lift it up and out the box, hold it flat and onto the vehicle. So now that we've got the canopy on the vehicle, we're getting ready to position it. So I'm going to remove the keys as this is in the locked position. So we have the 3 keys. So I'm just going to unlock the canopy. Open that up. I'll pop the keys on the car keys as well. So to position the canopy, we want the tailgate up. So when we're closing it up, we need to be careful that the sides do not catch the canopy. So we need to make sure that it's good left and right. So looking at the canopy, I do have quite a bit of overhang, so the canopy needs to go further forward. So I'll push one side, then go over to the opposite side, do the same. And then I need to look down the sides of the cab and both sides here, and basically is what I'm looking for is an even gap between this panel and this one here on both sides. So for the canopy for forward and backwards, we need to make sure that this seal along the door makes contact with this bit on the tailgate. So this section here makes contact with the tailgate right the way along. So to do that, we need to make sure the door is fully closed. So on the locks, there is 2 clicks. And then once we're happy that that is firmly closed, we can come down here and check that the seal is making contact. Now I'm happy that the door closes correctly and that the canopy is in good position for left, right, forward and backwards. So with that being said, I'm now ready to clamp the canopy down. So another box alongside your canopy is the fitting kit, and if you've ordered J brackets, that'll be in a separate box. So we have our right hand brackets. Note that if you flip these over, we have left hand as well. So don't panic if you see 2 left, you simply turn it over. Then we have our right hand front brackets, our various T40s to bolt them down, some nuts and some more various T40s, as well as tie wraps, our left hand brackets, and finally our 2 looms, our heated screen loom and our main loom. We have our 2 bulkhead brackets, they go at the very front. Then we have our longer brackets, they go in the middle, and our 2 shorter ones which go on the back. So we'll start with our front ones. So to do your front ones, you're going to slide the bar. If you do have a spray and liner, it's just going to bolt straight on, but if you do have a liner, you're going to have to slide that in down the back. Do the same on the opposite side. Then I'll grab our middle brackets. And lastly, our back brackets. So we have our bolts laid out here, these being for the front bracket. Note that there's 4 of those and there's 2 extra over here. These 2 extra ones need to come over to the front. So I'm going to start with the front bolt, and the way to identify that between the others is it doesn't have Loctite on. That's going to go in this section here. So I'll just tilt my bracket to line that up. Then I'll start with the rest. So to get this one, if you've already done your J brackets, you're going to either have the liner out, or the factory one, you're going to have a hole there. So we'll start by taking the anchor point out. And then our 5-piece, I'm just going to pull this forward, pop my bolt in, and I can tighten that up. I'm going to leave the anchor point off for now, because what I want to do is get all the other bolts started, and then I want to tighten this from the top down, and then that will pull the canopy towards the bed, and then tighten them up. If I tighten these up first, when I tighten that, it's not going to pull the canopy into the bed because it'll be stopped by these. So I'll leave that like that for now and move on to the opposite bracket and do the same thing. And start with the front bolt first. Then same again, get them nearly tight. So now that we've got both front brackets started, I'm going to move over to the middle ones. Bear in mind that some of the holes down here have a threaded knot on the other side and others don't. The middle one, if we feel underneath, there's no nut there, so the bolt's going from the top, and then we need to add a nut underneath. So again, I'm just getting this nipped up for now, or just hand tight, should we say. Do the same on the opposite side. And then we'll move to the back brackets. So 3 bolts either side and 2 nuts either side. So our front hole has a threaded knot on the opposite side, so we'll put our bolt in and get that one started. And our back 2 both need a knot on them. Okay, we'll move over to the opposite side. Same again, threaded one is at the front, so we'll get that one started first. So I'm just going to get my little ratchet just to get them started a little bit more before I start to tighten everything up. So tightening these up, I'm going to do like a zigzag motion. So I'll go from here to that side, to this side, to that side, to the back, to that. So I'll start on the top and work my way that way. So we'll tighten our top bolts up. Refit this. So moving over to our middle brackets. So these bolts want to be tight, but they don't want too tight that it's going to damage the canopy. Now that the canopy is all clamped on, I'm ready to get out of the truck now and we'll move on to the wiring. So to start the electrics, this is all plug and play. So what I've got here is the main loom, that is the longest loom, laid out in how it's going to go. So we're going to take the rear light out and feed this wire here up to the canopy itself. These colours will match up in the plug. Then we're going to intercept into the tailgate central locking where this plugs in. And then we'll come down the side. We're then going to pick up the heated screen inside the vehicle, and that will come out underneath the car and plug into here. We'd remove this blank. Then going to run the rest of the electrics underneath the chassis, up behind the liner, and then to the battery. So we'll start at the back by taking the rear light out. So we're starting on the left hand light, and we have two T30s to take out, one there and one here. Take both of those out. So the best way to get the light out is to rock it. So I've got one hand on the back and one on the side, and then pull towards you. I'll just lay that down. So the wire with all the connections on, I'm going to feed up from the bottom. It's going to come through this hole here, feed it up through between the skins. So it'll go up underneath and grab it. Now I'm just going to use a long tie wrap to go from inside the tub to the outside, and then I will electrical tape this to that and pull that through. So now I'm going to tape this to that loom. So now that that's taped on, I'm going to pull that through and just help feed it through as well. Now I'll take my tie wrap off. So I have the rubber grommet here that's going to go into the side of the canopy. To help me get that on, I'm just going to cut that end of that off. Like that. Slide that on like that, and then slide that down. So we've got our rubber piece on here. We're going to pop this onto here now. Now if we bring our colours up, we want to match all these colours up to these, bar the red. The red is the only one that's going to go to a different colour. So we'll do the others first and then we'll come back to the red. So these only go in one way, and you have to listen to the click to make sure they're fully engaged. Now, back to our red. So if we look on this plug on the back, there is a red on the top and there's an orange on there. We need this red to line up with that orange. So that is next to the blue. Now that's all clipped in, I'm happy they're tight. I can feed this into the canopy and pop my bung in place. Now we're ready to refit the light. So when we're going on, make sure these plastic tabs engage into there. And then pop your T30s back in. So now we're going to do the central lock-in. So the lock that it picks up on, or the wiring that it picks up on, is on the driver's side, and it is on the side of the chassis, just here. But before we plug this in, we need to feed both of these wires over the chassis so they're on the inside, and then that way this one can follow the factory loom down to the front. So I'm just going to run this along the top of the chassis. When you come to tie wrap it, you want to tie wrap it to this bar above the spare wheel. There's a loom that runs along there. And then we're just going to clip that into here. So this big black plug here next to the camera on the side of the chassis is where we're going to plug this into. So I'll hook that there for now. Push that tab in, pull that out, plug that into there, listen for the click, and then click the other half in. So that takes care of our central locking. We'll move on to running the rest of the loom down the chassis. So when running the loom down the vehicle, we need to follow this thick orange and black loom, and that is the main loom which runs from the back of the vehicle to the front. So now that we've run the majority of the loom, I'm going to stop there and we're going to pick up the heated screen now. So to recap, we've stopped roughly here because we're going to do the rear heated screen. So I've got the secondary loom that comes with the kit, and we're going to pass this bung here. We're going to take out our factory bung, pass this through, and that's going to take its place, and then clip into the main loom here. So first thing we need to do is open the left-hand door and then fold the seats flat. So we're inside the car now. I'm going to fold the back seats down, and I do that by pulling this tab here, listening for that click, and fold them forward. Now our heated screen is going to pick up off the factory heated screen, which is just here, and we need to remove these panels here. So I'll start by pulling the weather strip off, so I can get the trim tool in behind there, and then unclip the bottom one from the top one. So fold that forward, pull this one up away from here, and then I can lift that entire panel out and out the way. So now that we've got that lower panel off, we're going to do this one, but to get that one off, we need to take this one forward. So to do that, I'm going to lift this top bit out and then pull this forward, like so. Then we can put our hand underneath that and unclip this from the back. So I'm going to plug in the canopy wire into the factory loom. So to do that, I unplug that part off the window, and then I'm going to plug that into our loom, push that clip in, then plug this one back into the window, or into the window. And this section is going to cable tie onto this loom, run down here and underneath the car. Now that we've run that down there and followed the factory loom, we can refit our panels in reverse order. Top one first, and our back one, top one, we're going to leave the bottom one off for now because we need to go underneath the carpet. So just before we do run that loom down there, I'm just going to, because I've got quite a lot of the weather strip hanging out here, I'm just going to start to run that down to roughly here. Probably going to have to pull it off again later, but it just means that it's not in our way. Like so. So I'm going to lift the carpet up as well as the insulation, and I'm going to put my hand underneath and I'm looking for a big bung roughly around here. So as you can see, I'm pushing on the bung, and now that I've got that, I'm going to push the bung through. I'll pull it out, either or. Now I can feed the cable under the carpet and under the insulation and through the bung hole. So keep feeding that until you get to the bung, and then you need to push this bung into position. Now that we've got all that through and underneath the car, we can fit our final panel back on. So just make sure that the seat belt is behind it, is on top of it. And then just clip it in. And then lastly, we're going to fit the weather strip. And finally, fold the seat back up. And now we can jump back underneath the car and carry on. Now out of the box, the main loom comes with a blank on it for the heated screen. We need to remove that blank by pushing this tab in and pulling this blank off. So that's the blank there, and the tab is just on the top there. This clip only goes on one way, but we'll now get our heated screen that we've just fed outside the car and plug that in. Listen for the click, and now from there we can run the rest of the remaining loom up to the battery. So we're up to the point where we're behind the front wheel. We're going to run this loom up the back of the wheel arch and then into the engine bay. So I'll go up the top now, pop the bonnet and pull that through. So pop the bonnet. So now that we've got the bonnet popped, I can just see the loom, so I'm going to reach down and grab that. Pull that up, and then what I'm going to do is push the fuse box forward and pop the loom behind it. So that's sat at the back. Now ready to attach to the battery, so I'll grab my 10 and utilise one that I've already put a nut on. Now that we're connected to the battery, we want to go back across the loom and make sure we tie wrap it up so there's nothing dangling down or rubbing against anything. We don't want to tie wrap to any fuel lines or any brake lines. So just make sure that the tie wraps that you use are in a good position right across the chassis. Okay, so once you've done that, we're going to move on to the canopy itself. But for now, we're finished under the bonnet, so we can pop that down and get cracking with tie wrapping the loom. Now that all our wiring is tie wrapped up and out of the way, we can move on to testing. So is what we want to do to make sure our central locking working is leave the tailgate down, close the canopy door, get the standard key, lock, make sure the canopy locks and unlocks. The next thing that we want to do now, pop key back into pocket, is lift the tailgate, and we need to make sure when the interior light is on door, is that when we close the tailgate door, that the interior light does actually go off, and our interior light does go off. So this completes the installation of the Aeroklas canopy on the Ranger 2023. Thank you for watching.